My head is smoking from all the formalities I learned now about Japanese. Is there anything, any word, any phrase I can use in the streets of Japan?
I have a very special one for you. It's a very basic slang term, but let's imagine that you're doing something cool and a Japanese kid comes up to you and says the word yabai. Now, yabai, normally, it means dangerous. But don't worry, you don't have to fear for your life. You don't have to be worried about the child's safety. Yabai is a slang term used in Japan, especially for younger kids. That means that something is awesome. It's the same thing as sick in English. Something that is sick, it's usually negative, but it's used for endearment. So when you're outside in Japan, in the streets of Japan, if you get that word said to you, it means that you're doing something right. But now that I think about it, all of these different words and all the different alphabets made me really want to start chatting with every single Japanese person that I know. I cannot wait to meet them all.
But before you start searching your next Japanese buddy, maybe you should brush up on something else?
What do you mean brush up on something else?
Something that's even more important than grammar?
Oh, what?
Understanding each other and maybe reading between the lines.
Oh, I get it. No, it's like something like humor, you said, right? Yes. Luckily, I got you covered. I already have done my research. So the Japanese humor is very different from Italy. I feel like it's one of those things that is complete opposite. And one of the major example of this is the concept known as dajare. Now, dajare, it's literally just a pun. It's the classic English pun. And as we said before with the different alphabets, it's very easy to slot in and change the meaning of a word very easily by just the way that you draw them. So it's very easy for Japan to make puns. They are very popular amongst Japanese dads, but also they're very popular in marketing. Also, marketing uses them a lot. In Italy, we have a word for puns. It's called freddure, but we don't really do them. The language is not really built on being slotted so easily. Instead, we have something that is called barzellette. Barzellette.
What's that?
Barzellette are longer stories that have a humorous twist. It could be something about a person going through a certain situation. It could be about the regional stereotypes. It can have many forms, but the important thing is that there's a beginning, there's an end. It's an entire story. And this made me think, while I was trying to learn Japanese, that the way that they approach comedy and humor in the first place can be quite interesting. Specifically, Italian humor compared to Japanese, it's much more realistic. It's always about someone that is struggling in real life. It's always about their situation and their relationship with other people. It's a very social language or social type of situation. An example would be, if you're interested in learning about Italian movies, the movies of Checco Zalone. He's a very famous Italian comedic personality and also filmmaker. Most of his stories are about him struggling with everyday life. While for something like Japan, well, the first thing that you think about Japan media and humor would be something more zany. Your classical anime, magical girls, and a very crazy world like Crayon Shinchan. They are much more tied with giving a crazy look into a world and being completely absurd. But there is one element that I think a lot of comedy nowadays can stem from Japanese culture, specifically the idea of the the Manzai format of comedy. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
You never heard of it. Don't worry about it. It's something that you find a lot, even in Western comedies as well. The Manzai duo format is structured like this. Two people in front of a microphone in front of an audience. There's two people at play. The first one is the bokeh, which means the fool. He's a character that is usually very zany, always getting into some sort of trouble or thinking of something pretty absurd. Think of it as like a SpongeBob in nowadays terms. And then there's the straight man, the person that reacts to his craziness, but is more like a vessel to relate to the audience. He's someone more rational. He's more serious, and he always is the one that ends the conversation. Think about a Squidward, very jaded.
And the term for it is straight man?
The straight man, and in Japanese it's written as tsukomi, with two Ks. Tsukomi. So this back and forth has been the basis for a lot of Japanese comedies, and you can see it everywhere, both in media, but also in other Western adaptation. In Italy, we do have famous duos and trios of comedians creating jokes, but their approach is much more realistic. Everybody's on the same terms and reacting to the same situation slightly differently. And one other thing that is very different is that in Italy, someone like Lillo e Greg, they never kind of, by the way, Lillo e Greg is a famous duo in Italy, I have to mention it. They don't necessarily break character. Their characters and their personalities as comedians stay the same. While in Japan, it's very common for characters created by comedians to be just different. They're completely different works of art. So all of these humor, Japanese and Italian humor can be quite different. Wouldn't you agree?
I guess so. I mean, these are very different cultures.
And there is also another place where this sort of culture clash comes. It's in the way that they write too, their literature.
Okay, interesting. Tell me more about the literature then.
Japanese literature and Italian literature cannot be this much like opposites. But this does not mean that they never interacted with each other before. So the main way that Japan saves their literature is in the forms of short stories, specifically with their proverbs. I'm going to read how it's written. It's a kotowaza. That's basically the same thing as a proverb. Short phrase that symbolizes some sort of a community or psychological value, and it's written to be shared from generation to generation. It is important that it is written, though. It's always written. Okay. Now, the main element that makes kotowaza such an interesting concept is their affinity for nature, because I'm going to give you an example. I have it written here. So let's say that someone tells you the following. Akinasu wa yome ni kuwasu na. So basically this means don't let your daughter-in-law eat autumn eggplants. It seems kind of crazy, I know.
I think it takes some time to understand like the meaning behind it.
Yes, not only it takes some time to figure it out, but also there's multiple interpretations, because it's something that has been given from millennium and millennium. But the basic gist of it is a phrase about being taken advantage of. Specifically, don't let someone like your daughter-in-law, someone that is technically not part of your family, eat a very valuable element. Just in very simplified terms, don't let your guard down. Okay. That's kind of like the way that it's structured. But the idea is that these very small phrases are then collected and then kept in pretty short books or collections of books. And this couldn't be further from how Italians decide to keep their literature. Italian literature is known for a lot of things. It's known for things like personal voyages, their opinions and interactions with other people, and also the fact that they're long. Italian books always are very long, very complex, and they're always the big sellers, which is interesting because in Japan, the works of foreign authors that always get some sort of traction and they sell better are always collection of stories, which in Italy they are not as important into the lexicon of the world. But do you know that there's a very stark and recorded difference between Italian and Japanese literature?
Well, I don't know, but I guess you will tell me in a minute.
Of course. So Italo Calvino is an extremely influential Italian author. Back in the day, he used to have some lectures in America teaching people about how to write books and his philosophy. And he mentioned something specific about the use of world building. Specifically, he made a difference between the interaction of men. So in Italy and most Western countries, most books are about men versus men. Always about social, always about what other people think. While in Japan, it's always men versus nature. They always avoid things like social interaction or trying to critique someone else's position. And there's a very clear example on this philosophy working for Italo Calvino himself. Specifically, his book Invisible Cities is a very big hit in Japan because it's an entire book that uses a fog metaphor to describe loneliness and memory. So this sort of writing appeals to the Japanese audiences. While in Italy, it's a very good book for sure, but it's not one of his best.
Okay, well, Japan sounds pretty interesting to me, even though I haven't thought so much about it before. I learned a lot today. Have you ever been there?
No, I have not, but I am so excited because I'm planning a trip there and I already got a very big list of places that I want to visit, and I cannot wait to show it to you all. There's some crazy stuff out there.